Good morning, Housing Authority Board of Directors, and over to you, Director Harrington.
Good morning and welcome everyone to the Tuesday, December 2nd Housing Authority Board of Directors meeting here in Washington County. Clerk Moss, could you take the roll, please?
Certainly, Director Harrington. Washington County is meeting as the Housing Authority Board of Directors in this regular meeting, December 2nd, 2025. Director Schneider.
Here.
Director Savara.
Here.
Director Fye.
Present.
Director Willie.
Here.
Director Treese.
Here.
Director Harrington. And I'll announce Director Roper is not with us right now, but I will keep an eye out for her.
Thank you. Hoping she'll join us online. The next item on today's Housing Authority Board of Directors meeting is public communication. This is an opportunity for members of our community to address the Housing Authority Board of Directors on any housing topic of your interest for up to 2 minutes an individual. Clerk Moss, do we have anyone who wishes to do so?
I did not see anyone sign up in advance. Is there any member in the auditorium who wish to provide public comment to the Housing Authority for up to 2 minutes? Give you just a minute to stand up, raise your hand, come forward. Not seeing any in the room. Would any member online via Zoom wish to provide public comment to the Housing Authority for up to 2 minutes? Give you just a moment to utilize raise hand function. Not seeing any hands. Director Harrington.
Thank you, Clerk Moss. Next, we'll move on to today's consent agenda, which consists of 4 items. 1 set of minutes, and then 3 other items for the Housing Authority to approve today. What are the wishes of the Board of Directors regarding today's consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Director. Second. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, Directors. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 6-0. Next, we'll move on to the action agenda. And our first one is a proposal for updating the Housing Choice Voucher Program Administration Plan and the Public Housing Admissions and Continued Occupancy Plan. Oh, welcome to our staff. You are fast. Thank you. Please go right ahead.
Thank you, Director Harrington and Board of Directors. Thank you for this opportunity. And good morning, I'm Jill Chen. I'm the Deputy Director of the Housing Authority of Washington County, and I use she, her pronouns. I'm joined here today with Liz Morris, our Rental Assistance Division Director, and we're here to share an update about our Public Housing Authority. It's a long one. Public Housing Administrative Plan and the Admissions and Continued Occupancy Plan, or the ACOP. A quick summary on the goals for today's meeting. We're here to seek your approval for this plan and for the ACOP to be effective on January 1st, 2026. The meeting today will focus on a short overview of the policies, an update for next year, and any questions you might have. First, on the admin and ACOP plan, we want to make sure you're aware this is a requirement of HUD, is a semi-annual review cycle that we need to essentially update on a regular basis. The administrative plan is for our HUD-funded voucher programs, such as Section 8 or Housing Choice Vouchers. It is also used as a reference for our Metro Regional Local Rent Assistance Program, as well as our Continuum of Care, or COC, programs. In addition, the ACOP, or the Admissions and Continued Occupancy Plan, is being used for our public housing guidance. It also establishes our leasing and occupancy policies. Only public comment is needed unless there is significant amendment to our PHA plans or Public Housing Authority plans, and at this point there is not. We want to give you a short update on the summary, or these are the summary changes to our admin and ACOP plan. The first is our Emergency Housing Voucher, or EHV preference, for our Housing Choice Voucher waiting list. This is a program that we have presented to the board in the fall, and we would be pleased to give you an update. The second is our project-based voucher zoned waiting list, which was also presented in the fall, and we're very pleased on the success of that, which Liz will present in a few minutes. It is also an update on our public housing income limitations, and this is also a HUD requirement. An update about our county's access and opportunity resolution, and our zero housing assistance payment program extensions. You will note that the HAP extension was earlier also part of our moving to work requested change. So in terms of the procedural requirements, as mentioned, this is you can call it a routine semi-annual update and does not require a public hearing. These updates are used to align our Public Housing Authority plan effective from July 1st and are eligible for simple approval process with a public comment period. Our Housing Advisory Committee, or HAC, as well as our Resident Advisory Board, or RAB, were briefed in November and are supportive of these changes. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to my colleague.
Thank you, Jill. I'm going to go into a little bit of an update of each of these 5 changes that we have, but it will still be brief because, as Jill had mentioned, these are routine changes that we just want to ensure that our guiding documents are updated according to regulations and procedures. So our emergency housing voucher, as we know, this program is sunsetting, and we were approved by HUD for a waiver that we are able to provide a preference to those households on the wait list. We wanted to make sure that the language in our administrative plan captured this change. So that is what our biggest update is in our admin plan with our emergency housing vouchers. So this aligns with our current preference guidelines and recommendation that ensures that flexibility to support households through that transition when the time comes. For the project-based vouchers zone wait list, we also had previously added more broad language before we had identified that we needed 4 separate zones, and we wanted to make sure that our admin plan was updated to identify those specific 4 zones that we had presented on in October in detail. So as this is just ensuring that the language has those 4 zones and what that plan is for polling off for people who applied for the wait list. As Jill mentioned, we were really excited that we did open our wait list November 4th through 10th. And had over 4,000 people apply for one or more of these zoned opportunities during that opening period for 1 week. I really want to elevate that it was an all hands on deck for the Department of Housing from all different divisions, not just the Rental Assistance Division, that stepped up to help support people through this process. You all championed this as well, and thank you for that, as well as even partners like the community, like the library services, who are willing and able to help people come in when they were applying online. So we're really excited about the success of that waitlist opening, and anticipate within the next couple of weeks starting to pull some households off that list to fill vacant properties within Washington County. Vacant units, I apologize, not properties, but the units. Our next update is with our ACOP, the Continuing Occupancy Plan of the Public Housing. And this is a standard update that HUD requires for our over income limit. It is calculated by HUD and is published. So these are just updating those number requirements as that maximum amount of income that a household can receive. They have a grace period of 2 years if they meet this period before they're exited from public housing. And then our next update is the team members went through all of our plans to ensure that the language that is asked by the county for updating in our access and opportunity resolution. So we are ensuring that any language in our published administrative plan and ACOP plan reflected any changes that were required. So those have gone through for any modifications that were needed. And then our last change that we're highlighting and that is substantive is that moving to work activity that we already received approval for and demonstrated earlier this year in our annual plan and MTW plan updates. This is going to go in effect January 1st, 2026. As households graduate off the program where we're paying zero subsidy, so zero housing assistance payment, the current HUD program gives those households a 180-day extension. We've been approved by HUD to waive that up to 360 days, so just shy of a year, but a year. So if there's any changes, that household would be able to come back onto the program with updates to their voucher and contract with their lease at the time. So any households that graduate after January 1 would be have this plan implemented based on that. Okay, and those are our big changes that we have, as they are pretty standard and housekeeping wise, but we want to make sure there's an opportunity if there's any questions about these changes.
Thank you. Directors, do you have any questions or comments at this time?
One question, Chair.
Sure.
Just wanted to confirm, did you receive any public comments during the public comment period?
We did not.
Thanks.
And I just want to verify, do I need to hold a public hearing on this?
No.
Okay. All right. So at this juncture, hearing no questions and comments, great presentation. Thank you. I would ask for a motion to approve the updates to the Public Housing Authority, PHA, Administrative Plan and the Admissions and Continuity Occupancy Plan, known as ACOP, to be effective January 1st, 2026.
Chair, I motion to approve the updates.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 6-0 and is a reflection of the great work of our team that it goes so seamlessly. Next, we'll move on to our next action item, which is to consider approving an intergovernmental agreement with our regional government, Metro, for a Nature in Neighborhoods grant for the Aloha 209th Avenue project. Please take it away.
Thank you, Chair Harrington and directors. Good morning again. I'm Jill Chen, Deputy Director of the Housing Authority, Washington County, and I'm joined today with Lisa Varon, our Real Estate Division Manager. We're here to share an exciting update on the Aloha 209 Affordable Housing Project or Development and regarding its new Nature in Neighborhood grant from Metro. And we will be asking for your approval for the execution of an intergovernmental agency agreement to effectuate the grant. A short agenda is where we will go through a project summary, and we will be coming back to you in another month or so for the full project of Aloha 209. This is just a preliminary sort of summary to explain about the Nature in Neighborhoods grant. We'll have a short discussion on the project financing, our community engagement, and the requested board action. Short summary on Aloha 209. As you will recall, this was a project, this is a new construction project, affordable housing. It was purchased, the site itself was purchased by Metro using their affordable housing acquisitions or site acquisition funds. It is a 3-acre lot. You can see that in the graphic. The current proposal for us is 87 units of multifamily apartments. It is mostly 2 and 3 bedrooms, family-sized units. It will also have about 10% of its homes will be fully ADA accessible. Some of the downsides, well, before we go into downsides, we are now in the process of negotiating our development, our DDA, which is a development disposition agreement with Metro, but we have already signed a memorandum of understanding with them. The site itself, as you can see, is 2 wetlands on the site, a larger one on the western portion and a smaller one on the eastern portion. The grant itself is $750,000 and was awarded on a competitive basis. We were selected and approved by the Metro Council in June of 2025. The grant itself is to protect and improve water quality, wildlife, and for the neighbors and the community to have a better experience, improved experience in nature. We're looking to mitigate the wetlands. The left side, the left side, or the western side, will be mitigated and be part of the development. The eastern side, which is the smaller portion, will be part of our development. Okay, there we go. The total amount of the wetlands will be 0.83 acres, and that is almost a third of the property. As you'll see, this is as indicated in the pictures, those are where the wetlands really are, and that's more the eastern portion where it is much more, you call it wetter. The funds for the Nature and Neighborhoods Grant has to be for enhancing existing natural resources, water quality, climate resilience, and 10% of it could be used to cover our administrative cost. We are hopeful that these funds will help us leverage additional funds, including low-income housing tax credits, as well as Oregon Housing Community Services grant funding or gap funding in LIFT, as well as potential Metro transit-oriented funds. The funds should be used within 3 years, but can be extended to up to 5. So without further ado, I will pass it over to my colleague, Lisa. Thank you.
Community engagement is a key component of this project. Early on, Metro convened a project advisory committee led by Unite Oregon, and in June we held a visioning charrette with that group. The community input emphasized opportunities for residents to interact with the wetland, quiet green spaces, with seeding and ecological restoration of the wetland, adding a green space to a community in the local community that folks could use. Our timeline is that we're currently in pre-development, design, permitting, and funding applications. And our investor and lender selection is scheduled for the first half of 2026. Permitting and contractor bidding is anticipated in late 2026, with construction starting in early 2027, with an 18-month construction schedule potentially. We're looking at reaching construction completion in Q3 or Q4 2028. And then moving on to lease up. So, a couple years ahead of the game early on in the project, but a really great opportunity to enhance the overall meaning of the property to the local community.
While we're on this slide, could you speak to how the community engagement for the Nature and Neighborhoods Grant fits within this overall timeline for the affordable housing? And at what stage is the architect for the affordable housing project involved so that the natural area design is part of what the architect for the affordable housing full solution has in mind?
Sure. The architect for the project has already been appointed, and that was even before the Nature and Neighborhoods Grant came in. So as the community was engaging with us and with Metro, we wanted to accommodate their requirements and their desires. And that's part of the reason why we wanted to have sufficient space on the eastern portion so that there was you can call it nature, that not only the folks who are in the building, but in that area could use.
I just wanted to make sure, since I don't think the presentation itself makes it clear, that I raised it today, so it was at least verbally addressed.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a fully engaged process where and integrated as well. And the feedback on the wetlands was part of the original outreach and part of the original conversation around the site. It has always been that a portion of this site would be green space for the community, and now we have a resource to help us do it really well.
And to what degree have you ensured that the team is connected with Clean Water Services for their education programs, because there is an elementary school right up the street?
I love that idea. We certainly are working with Clean Water Services on this site right now, as well as the state. So I'll look into that. And if you have anyone in particular to recommend we talk to, let us know.
Yes, we do.
Okay, great. So today we're requesting.
Education specialist, and I know Damon was here, and he can make sure. There we go. He can make sure to get you that name. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you. So today we're requesting board approval of the intergovernmental agreement with Metro associated with accepting the Nature and Neighborhoods grant funds. This action is a critical step to advancing both the housing and environmental goals of the Aloha 209th project. And this slide concludes our presentation on Aloha 209th and the Metro Nature and Grants. We're happy to answer any questions, and if you'd like follow-up, our contact information is provided on this slide.
Yes, board members, questions, comments?
I have a question. Great presentation, first of all. Good morning. I intend to support this motion, the request you have in front of us. The question I have is one of the slides, Jill, specifically for you, when you were going over that this site is going to have 87 apartments and it's going to be mostly two-bedroom apartments. I'm curious if you could talk us through how did that decision come about? Was there a needs assessment that was done to sort of identify to make it mostly two-bedroom apartments? Because I don't know what the deficit is. Are we short on two bedrooms? Are we short on one bedroom?
So that's part of the concept plan we already approved for the 209th project and isn't specific to this action for the Nature and Neighborhoods grant. So
I know.
You'll need to take that offline at a different time, because the board's already been over that and taken action to approve that project.
I hear you, Chair, but I'm wondering if, Jill, if you could remind me just quickly, just so we're here.
Thank you, Director Fye and Chair Harrington. The project itself is anticipated to be about 2/3 family-sized units. And our market studies have indicated that family-sized units are needed in our community. So this is mostly 2 and 3 bedrooms. The requirements of both the design as well as I think for a mixed community is where we developed our number of units and the configuration. And as Chair Harrington mentioned, that was one of the original concepts we had presented to your board months ago, I think, or in the beginning when this was originally designed.
Yeah, just very quickly, I want to acknowledge that I am appreciative of the fact that we are not just building something and kind of plopping it down. We're thinking about the bigger picture, how this fits into the environment that it's going into, and the importance of both water quality and our natural spaces. So I'm appreciative of that. I'm supportive of it. That's all I've got.
Anyone else? So do we have a motion to approve this contract through the intergovernmental agreement with Metro for the Nature and Neighborhoods grant for the Aloha 209th project?
I move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you. Directors, any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 6-0. Next, we'll move on to our public communications section for the Housing Authority Board of Directors. Clerk Moss, do we have anyone who wishes to do so for up to 5 minutes an individual?
Thank you, Director Harrington. I did not see anyone sign up in advance of the meeting. Is there any member in the auditorium that wishes to speak for 5 minutes on any housing authority-related topic? Give you a moment to stand up, raise your hand, come forward. Not seeing any in the room. Would any member online via Zoom wish to provide comment for up to 5 minutes to the Housing Authority? Give you just a moment to utilize raise hand function. Not seeing any hands, Director Harrington.
Thank you, Clerk Moss. I have no Board of Directors announcements. Does anyone else for today? Okay, seeing none, do we have a motion to adjourn the Housing Authority Board of Directors meeting for today?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, directors. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously, 6-0. The Housing Authority meeting of today, December 2nd, is hereby adjourned. I'd like to open the Washington County Board of Commissioners meeting for this day, Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025. Clerk Moss, could you do us the honors, please?
Certainly, Chair Harrington. The Washington County Board of Commissioners also meeting as the Board of Directors for Clean Water Services and all other county service districts is this regular session, December 2nd, 2025. Commissioner Schneider?
Here.
Commissioner Fye?
I am present.
Commissioner Willie?
Here.
Vice Chair Treese?
Here.
Chair Harrington.
Here. Thank you, Clerk Moss. We have a full complement of the boards. Would everyone please join me by standing up and saying the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. For today's consent agenda, we're going to pull item 2 and move it to the last item on our action agenda. This is the first procedure we're going through of this type, and we want to make sure it's clear. So that leaves us, I will come back to public communication in a minute. That leaves us with 10 items on the consent agenda and 4 items on the action agenda, and there have been no other agenda changes for today's meeting. Next, we'll move to public comment. Clerk Moss, do we have anyone who wishes to testify for up to 2 minutes an individual, 10 minutes total?
Thank you, Chair Harrington. I did not see anyone sign up in advance in the room. Is there any member in the auditorium who should provide public comment to the board on any calendar topic for up to 2 minutes? Raise your hand, start coming forward. Not seen in the room. We have one caller online, Mr. Dale Feek. Mr. Feek, can you hear us?
Dale, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead for up to 2 minutes.
Chair Harrington and Commissioners Dale Feek. I'm at the Environmental Quality Commission meeting, and I'm going to make the same public comment to them I'm making to you now. I have 3 comments. I sent you email because Washington County, especially the city of Hillsborough, continues to expand its data center complexes. All decision-maker policymakers need to studiously become aware of the negative consequences and take proactive measures to correct it. And then I had how Oregon's data center boom is creating a water crisis. Please open that up and read it in detail. Number 2, lesson number 2 of Timothy Snyder's book on tyranny, 20 lessons from 20th century states. Defend the institutions, choose an institution you care about, a court, newspaper, law, labor union, and take its side. Following is how I have taken the newspaper, the Oregonian side. Note that it is also related to lesson number 10. Believe in truth, and number 11, investigate. Please read what I sent to you. Number 3, in my public comment in 2 minutes is, I sent to you early this morning a letter from American, Heather Cox Richardson. And Richardson attached, and I attached the letter, says President Donald J. Trump's behavior over the holiday weekend has increased concern about his mental acuity. A rant on his social media account at midnight on Thanksgiving itself threatened to strip citizenship from naturalized immigrants, called Minnesota Governor Tim Walz profoundly offensive slur, and ended, happy Thanksgiving to all except those that hate, steal, murder, and destroy everything that America stands for. You won't be here for long. Kevin, please let me know when my 2 minutes up. I have no idea of time. On NBC's Meet the Press yesterday, Waltz responded by calling for Trump to release the results of an MRI he told reporters he underwent in October, later saying, I have no idea what they analyzed, but whatever they analyzed, it went well, and they said I have as good a result as they can ever see. Although Trump told reporters the MRI was part of his routine physical medical experts say that such tests are not
Thank
routine.
you, Mr. Feek.
So please.
That's your 2 minutes.
Is there any other member online wish to provide comments at this time? Not seeing any other hands. Chair Harrington.
Thank you, Clerk Moss. Next, we'll move to today's consent agenda, which consists of 10 items. 1 set of minutes, 2 items from Clean Water Services, 3 items from Health and Human Services, 1 item from the Sheriff's Office, 1 from IT, and 2 from Land Use and Transportation. What are the wishes of the Commission?
Move to approve.
Second. We have a motion and a second to adopt today's consent agenda. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, Commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. Next, we have a presentation from our independent elected county auditor who does performance and program audits here for Washington County, and for clarity, does not include financial audits for Washington County. We have separate financial auditors for that. Also does not pertain per the county charter to Clean Water Services. So welcome, Christine Adams-Wamberg. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. Well, good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. For the record, my name is Christine Adams-Wamberg, and I am the County Auditor. I'm very pleased to be here this morning to present my 2025 annual report. Honestly, it feels like the year went really fast, and I was just here giving you the 2024 one. So, but it is one of the requirements of the charter that I come before you on an annual basis to give you a report about my office. So I'm here to do that. Just so you know, I will be talking about a few audits during this presentation. I won't be going into individual recommendations or findings, but identifying particular audits as they relate to our performance measures. Excellent. Okay, a little preview of coming attractions. Let's see, that did not work, did it? Okay, there we go. All right. And it doesn't like that, so thank you. All right, a little preview of coming attractions. I am going to talk a little bit about the office's mission, vision, and values, our goals, our activities for 2025. I'm going to highlight some of our performance measures, our budget and staffing, and then also give you kind of a heads up for 2026 in terms of what is going to be coming up and everything. Not sure why it doesn't like this, so. Okay. In terms of what my job is, as you'll see, sorry, Kevin, I think I'm having some challenges here with the, thank you. The quote that you're going to see on the slide is essentially comes from the charter. It's basically to evaluate the effectiveness and results of county programs, activities, and costs. What I think of this as is really something that is a lot more like a program evaluation. It's assessing compliance, policies, and legal requirements. You might want to think of it as something like a gap analysis. We might, as a county, have something like a particular county policy that you have approved. We might have a state regulation or federal regulation. So we go in, we assess, is there a gap? Is there a gap between what that regulation or criteria is and what is currently happening? And if there is a gap, what's the impact of the gap, and how do we make a recommendation for improvement? And what's causing the gap? In terms of our strategic plan, I really just want to focus on the mission here, is that we work to promote better government accountability, public policy, and county services through impactful audits and analysis. It is something that we live day in and day out. The folks who are in my office really love their jobs, and we really love to inspire good improvement and work toward that end. In terms of work for 2025, we have worked on 3 audits and done 4 follow-up reviews. The 3 audits that we have worked on this year are cash handling at Animal Services, grants management focusing on the pre-award approvals and analysis, and also identity management and access, or identity and access management of the county's GovQA application. And that's the county's application for a public records request, just so you know. Those, unfortunately, those 3 audits will not be published this year, but they will be published in the first quarter of 2026. I am thrilled to report, and I have mentioned this a couple of times, but it bears being repeated because it is that awesome, that we passed our first external quality assessment. This is essentially an audit of the auditor. In the 40-year history of our office being an elected office, we have never had an audit of the auditor before, and we passed. So that is not something to be taken lightly. It takes a couple of years to basically gear up to do that work, and I am so pleased with the staff and the work that we have done. It is a huge professional achievement, so I'm really, really pleased with that. We've also promoted, or actually proposed some charter changes to the board. Those will be coming up for a public hearing in 2026. We, in terms of communications, have done 4 newsletters, and then we have done various social media posts and media advisories. And of course, as being professional auditors, we have to achieve a certain amount of continuing professional education. We have new software, so we are doing training in that, and we have a lot of professional leadership areas that we get into. And it may not sound very exciting, but we do have to do a lot of archiving. So that's a pretty good one as well. I have a couple different performance metrics. These are part of our strategic plan. I just want to highlight before we go on to some other things. So our first one is the % of audit recommendations agreed to or partially agreed to by management. Our target is 85%, and you'll see for the past 3 years, we basically achieved 86, so that's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Our second measure is our % of audit recommendations implemented or in process. So what happens for this is as we publish an audit, a year after that publication, we come back to check on things. We go to management and say, okay, where are you at? What did you implement? Are you kind of in process on these? So this is us going back for those audits and sort of checking in to say, all right, how are you doing? Our goal for that is to have 85% implemented or in progress. And as you look at the pie chart, you'll see some different colors there. The combination of the blue 72% and the green 23% are the implemented and in progress. So we've gotten to 95%. I will note that there's a lot in progress right now. Some of those audits are getting a little old, but I do think that part of the reason for the delay in that is because we've had so many different budget cuts, so we obviously have fewer resources that we are able to dedicate to that as a county. All right, average number of audits completed per FTE. Normally what we want to see as a target is we want to see one audit out per FTE, and we are a very small office. We only have 2.8 FTE in the office, so we are totally tiny. My first year in office, we averaged about half, 0.43 per FTE. Last year, we were at 0.87. And unfortunately this year, as I stated before, we will not be publishing any audits this year, but you are going to see in 2026 kind of a spike happen because we're going to have several audits that are published in that year. And I've already mentioned our fourth performance metric, which was passing our external quality review. Again, really, really proud of that. Our average number of continuing professional education hours per FTE, our target is to get basically 40 per FTE, 40 hours per FTE. We've always been above that. We're a little bit down in 2025, but not below our target, so we're very pleased with that. And then number 6 is kind of a fun one for our office. So it's good to just kind of keep the internal, see what the internal beat of the office is. I will tell you that we do a survey. I will tell you with 2.8 FTE, it's not anonymous per se, because it's pretty easy to say, tell who's saying what. But folks in our office are really great about giving good ideas for improvement and giving their opinion. So the scale on this is 1 would be, folks are basically leaving, they are headed to other jobs, and a 10 would be jumping for joy. So essentially our target is a 7, and we've been well above that, so that's great. All right, office expenditures and staffing. For our 25-26 adopted budget, we are under $800,000 for our budget. We are probably the tiniest, or at least one of the tiniest departments in the county. Again, I mentioned that we have 2.8 FTE. Most of that pays for our staff. The slight remainder that we have for materials and services basically pays for some of our our software, and then all the other internal services that happen in the county, like our facilities and our charges for county council and IT and things like that. I will note that if you do a comparison of other audit shops, we are very much understaffed. The comparison should be basically at about 1 audit staff per 100,000 population, and we are at basically half the staff. So I just want to highlight that. All right, this table basically talks about the what was on the 2025 audit schedule. As you'll see, those first 3 audits that I've mentioned before, those are going to come out in the first quarter of 2026. When a couple of those audits are done, we are going to move into our facilities capital audit, and then we have not determined yet as to when the geomedical unit controlled substances audit will be done. We've done 4 follow-up reviews. Those are in the table right there. And then looking ahead to 2026, obviously we're gonna continue to do audits because we love those things. We will do several follow-ups. We will also do a new 2026 audit schedule. We'll determine if the schedules that were, or excuse me, the audits that were on the 2025 list are still continue on to the 2026 list, or if something needs to be supplemented or anything like that. We will still be doing newsletters and our feedback. We will have a major policies and procedures update because some of the auditing standards have changed. They've been tweaked a little bit, so we need to update that. And obviously, we need to get our CPE for our standards and everything and do more archiving. I will say a little bit further out there, even though the slide doesn't have it, but for 2027, we are looking at, that would be redoing our strategic plan. That would be the time frame when that would come up. Before I conclude, I just want to say a big thank you to the audit staff. They do a fantastic job with very few resources, and like many of the staff in the county, they are just fantastic, so I'm very, very grateful for them. One of them is in the audience today, Fiona Howell-Earl. Wave, thank you. With that concludes my presentation, and I'm open to any questions if you have them.
Commissioners, do you have any questions? Go ahead.
I'll just ask one very quickly about the jail medical unit controlled substances audit. That's a service right now that is, at least for the personnel, is contracted out, correct?
That's correct.
So I guess I want to make sure I understand the scope of that audit. Will it be, are the controlled substances provided by the vendor? And are we auditing,
yes.
Are you then auditing the vendor or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank
Yeah, and essentially this is going to be very much like an inventory control audit to see, like, for particular controlled substances, nothing like ibuprofen, but the heavy duty stuff, is it locked away? Do we have a log? If somebody goes in and gets some of that, do we have a log in terms of how much they used? Who did they use it on? So it's going to be similar to that.
Seeing no other questions or comments from anyone else, could you go, I have a question. Could you go back one slide?
This is on the 2026, correct?
Yep.
Okay,
Thank you.
there you go.
So we have various departments that have requirements beyond the standard state records retention. So you've mentioned archiving as one of the standard responsibilities. And for example, our legal department has even more arduous records retention than we do, say, for the board members. Could you speak to what defines the archive requirements and why it isn't just a standard course? You do an audit, and part of completing that audit is the archiving versus mentioning it here as some other activity.
Of course, of course. No, that's a really great question. So there are a couple different things. So we follow all the state requirements, or we attempt to follow all the state requirements for our documentation. So for example, audit reports have a permanent retention. They need to be put into the Laserfish system for that to be accomplished. Similarly, for our audit records have a 10-year retention. Currently, as part of our process, we don't regularly do that, and we have been working with the Department of Assessment and Taxation to work on an archiving manual for our office, so that we can more effectively do that and add that as a standard part of our process when we finish those audits. One of the things I also inherited when I came in was probably about, I would say, multiple decades of hard copy audits that had never been archived. So one of the things we are working on right now is to get all those together to provide those to Assessment and Taxation, and they very generously said that they will do all the scanning for us, which I'm super happy about. But that is our hope, is for 2026 to get basically all caught up with the archiving requirements and to make that a regular part of our process.
Great. Great. I think a lot of what you've provided today in the presentation was very helpful to hear, and even looking at the written documentation, your verbal presentation augmented it, and so
thanks.
I think I just would like to provide you with that positive feedback.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
So, great. Thanks for coming.
No problem. Thanks for
Keep up the
having me.
good work.
See you next year.
I've always believed that having, and I continue to believe that having an independent elected auditor, fresh set of eyes to look at how the county is doing, or any government that has an independently elected auditor, it's really important. So thank you.
Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Okay, we will move on to our next agenda item. We have 3 different public hearings for today. And Mr. Stacy Shetler is, I think, here for all 3. So we will go through each of them in good order. So I'm actually just going to turn it over to you to take us through each and every one of these things. And we also know that if we do get public testimony on some of this, that he will have to read additional public statements as appropriate. So turn it over to you, Mr. Shetler. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Harrington. As stated, I'm Stacy Shetler, your county engineer with Land Use and Transportation. And the first item today is the legalization of Kinnaman Road between 185th and Farmington Road. This road is uncertain due to some of the old surveys and action in this corridor, and the survey was done as a result of a sidewalk infill project, so that's why it's coming to your board today. The current alignment has been, or the road has been used for over 100 years. It's one of our oldest county roads. It qualifies for legalization due to the uncertainty in the surveys, and we're recommending 60 foot for the base width, except there's one small parcel where we're only getting 25 feet on the south side of the road. There are no permanent structures located in the proposed right-of-way. And so we ask that, the adjacent property owners were notified per statute. There's no known opposition to the legalization. We have received several calls to our surveyor's office, mainly questions about the project itself. And your board may receive additional input from today's public hearing. So with that, I ask that you conduct the public hearing and then approve the resolution in order. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shetler. And with that, I'll open today's public hearing. Clerk Moss, do we have anyone who wishes to testify on this matter regarding Kinnaman Road?
I did not see anyone sign up in advance of the meeting on this public hearing. Is there any auditorium member that should probably comment on this public hearing? As you've heard from staff, give you a moment to raise your hand, come forward. Not seeing in the room. Would any member online wish to provide public comment on this public hearing? Give you just a moment to utilize the raise hand function. Not seeing any hands, Chair Harrington.
Thank you, Clerk Moss. And with that, I'll close today's public hearing and ask for a motion to approve the resolution and order legalizing Southwest Kinnaman Road as County Road 3363.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, Commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. Next, we will move on to the Dairy Creek Road item. Mr. Shetler.
Again, thank you, Chair Harrington, members of the board, Stacy Shetler, County Engineer, Land Use and Transportation, and the proposed action today is the legalization of Dairy Creek Road. This survey was conducted as part of a bridge replacement in the area, and there were some uncertainty with the survey records as well on this project. So Dairy Creek Road has also been traveled in its current location for over 100 years. It qualifies for a legalization process. We're recommending a 60-foot base width for this right-of-way, and there are no permanent structures located in the proposed right-of-way. So notification was per statute. There's no known opposition. We did not receive any phone calls to the surveyor's office in regards to this posting, and you may receive some additional input at today's public hearing. So with that, I ask that you conduct the public hearing and then approve the resolution in order. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shetler. And with that, I'd like to open a public hearing on this matter. Clerk Moss, do we have anyone who wishes to do so?
Yes, we do, Madam Chair. We have two people, Robert and Chris Jones. You can come up to the front here.
Mr. Jones, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your time. I live in, my wife and I live in a structure along this area that was part of the historic area of Snooseville, which is a lumber area that predates Dairy Creek Road even coming there. And we actually live in a remodeled cabin that comes from that time. My concerns about this proposal is that they're doubling the width of Dairy Creek Road from 30 feet to 60 feet, and we have restrictions for our septic from the creek itself that are 50 feet, and we have a well for our water that restricts the area for our septic. I'm concerned that we are getting squeezed on both sides, along with the idea that there is a gas line easement that goes along this line that has a no-dig provisions to it. Our house was built from the Greener family, and historical. It doesn't have a historical standing, but it is definitely a historical house. And septic situations, according to the people that I talk at and building and whatnot, are grandfathered in from previous times in a lot of areas of Washington County that are predate planning and whatnot. So basically, I'm just asking for explanation or further studies for my own specific situation. I have no objections to improvement or, surveys that are done by the county. I just don't want to be squeezed out of my home. That's basically my request.
Thank you, sir. Mm-hmm. And after we close the public hearing, I'll be sure to ask Mr. Shetler about your comment.
Okay, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
So please bear with us as we go through the process.
Okay. Is there anyone else in the auditorium wish to provide public comment on this public hearing as you've heard by staff? Not seeing anyone raise their hand or coming forward. Is there any member on Zoom that wish to provide public comment on this public hearing? Give you just a moment to utilize raise hand function. Not seeing any hands. Chair Harrington.
Thank you. And with that, I will close today's public hearing. And thank you, Mr. Jones, for your comment. This is exactly why we hold public hearings. Mr. Shetler, what have we learned and what should the board be aware of today?
Yes, thank you, Chair.
And feel free, if appropriate, to bring any part of your presentation back up in case that's helpful.
Yeah, certainly. So in the presentation, it showed a 60-foot total right-of-way, and so I think there might be confusion. And so the 30 feet that he's talking about is from the center line of the road. So we're not taking more right-of-way than what's already out there. We're just setting the record straight as far as the surveys that are out there. So I don't believe he's being squeezed. I can't speak to his particular situation with his septic system, but we're not widening the road right now, and so the right-of-way is where it is, and his septic system is where it is. We will not be squeezing him out or causing him to create any changes or modifications to his septic system as part of this action.
Just to be super clear about what you just said, you were stating that the 30-foot from center line goes out to where the gentleman that was just testifying would generally understand the side of the road to end now?
Well, the side of the road would be the paved road. It's going to extend beyond the paved road because the paved road is probably, 25 to.
So maybe a few feet past that to get to the pole right away?
The back of the ditch, probably where the utility lines are.
Okay.
And so I think, again, the 30 feet is from the center line for a 60-foot total. So I don't think I think that's just a misunderstanding.
I understand, and I think you're probably right. I just wanted to clarify how much further off of the paved surface so that in practical terms, the constituent could understand.
Are there any other questions at this juncture?
Well, does Mr. Shetler need to read, because of the testimony, is there something you need to read into the record?
No, I think
Not?
it
Okay.
pertains to a land use application. So at this juncture, Mr. Shetler, I'm wondering, we've held the required public hearing, but I'm wondering if it might be useful or appropriate to move action on this item to time certain our next business meeting that would give you and Mr. Jones the opportunity to confer and validate that there's no misunderstanding. Is there any legal reason? I'm looking now to our county counsel, Alex Barnett, for guidance here.
Chair, you are correct. You can continue this matter to a date certain in the future, potentially your next public meeting, and take it up at that time.
Mr. Shetler?
Yeah, I believe we'd have to renotice the meeting, and so we would have to make sure that we meet those requirements.
And as far as you know, would that be a 45-day kind of thing or just a 2-week kind of thing?
I believe it's 30 days for a public hearing.
Might I suggest just something to consider here? Might I suggest that we table that for 5 to 10 minutes while someone from your team connects with him, and we can go to the next presentation and act on that one while there's sort of some discussion?
I'd actually like to table this item and come back to it as the last item under our action.
Okay.
So it gives you a little bit more time to confer out in the hallway.
Okay.
Okay, great. So why don't we do the third one and go from there? So now we're pausing the Northwest Dairy Creek item. Come back to it on the action item, and I did appropriately close the public hearing, right? Okay, just confirming. So now we're going to move to Vadis Road. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes, that's correct, Vadis Road. And can I have clarification as far as the item that was tabled? Is that at the very end of the agenda or at the end of the action items part?
The end of the action items.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to Vadis Road. So this one is a little bit more interesting in the sense that the history behind it has to do with the construction of a railroad alignment. So the red dashed line that you see on the screen here is the current road, the currently traveled road. That currently traveled road has been in use for over 100 years. And it was, and then the green dashed line there is where the old road was. And so that old road part predated the railroad. The railroad came in, built their rail line, and they also built a rail station there over the top of that green dashed line. At the same time, the railroad moved the road to where you see it now in that red line. Once the railroad was done with their operations, they sold that rail yard in, I think, 1986. And so the property owner that currently owns the property underneath that green dashed line has requested vacation. The county wanted to perfect our rights over the traveled alignment, and so that's what this legalization does. So the road itself was established in the mid-1800s, and the western segment was physically realigned in the 1900s, as I stated. The road has been currently traveled in its location for over 100 years, and this qualifies for legalization under the appropriate ORSs. And there are no permanent structures within the right-of-way. We considered other means to formalize the public rights in discussions with ODOT Rail and the railroad itself. They're listed there. They include right-of-way easement, which ODOT Rail did not agree to, property conveyance, establishment through a viewer's process, which is very uncommon, and then other judicial processes. But legalization is the most efficient and economical means to formalize the public's rights. And then with this legalization, then it also formalizes the county's maintenance responsibilities and our ability to spend road fund dollars on that road. So we're also looking at a 60-foot right-of-way. In most of the alignment, there are some places where it will be 50 feet, and that's based on the parcel widths of the strips of land that the railroad had purchased at the time for the road realignment. The current property owner of the old rail station site has requested the vacation, and this legalization process will accomplish this. Notification was made to adjacent property owners as well as ODOT Rail. Portland and Western Railroad was also notified as a courtesy because they hold the rail rights to use the rail corridor, and there's no known opposition to the public use of this road, the location of the crossing and the road itself, and the widths. You may receive additional public input at today's hearing. So with that, I ask your board to conduct the public hearing and then approve the resolution in order to legalize Vadis Road. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shetler. Commissioners, do you have any questions on this matter?
I'll wait until after the public.
You'll wait for question and comment until after the public hearing.
I just got a couple
Okay.
logistical questions.
All righty. Well, without further ado, I'm going to open a public hearing on this proposal.
Thank you, Chair Harrington. We did have one, James Bose. James, are you here? Please come up and testify for up to 2 minutes.
Mr. Post, did I hear that correctly?
Post.
Oh, thank you.
V-O-B-S-T. Thank you. Thank you, Chair Harrington and Commissioners. I appreciate your time this morning. My name is James Bobst, and I'm here on behalf of my employer, Pacific Fiber Products, where I've worked for the last 35 years. This morning, I'm here to voice strong support for the Commission's approval of the legalization of the traveled portion of Northwest Vadis Road as County Road 3356, and to approve the vacation of the unused portion of the historic Vadis Road right-of-way. Pacific Fiber Products purchased the property at 34380 back in the mid-1980s to operate a whole log chipping facility, and we later expanded several times through additional acquisitions. In 2024, due to changing market conditions, we sold all of the property to Woodburn Industrial Capital Group, the current owner. However, as part of the sale, we are contractually obligated to help resolve the long-standing Vadis Road right-of-way issue that crosses the two affected tax lots. This right-of-way issue directly affects the new owner's ability to develop the site. The Vadis Road alignment has been a reoccurring problem for more than a century. My involvement initially dated back to 2006 with County Operations Engineer Greg Clemens, and again in 2010 and 2014 with the County Survey Supervisor. Each time county staff confirmed that the unimproved portion of Vadis Road is not used by the public, that it is not needed for future use, and the public has always traveled on a different, well-established alignment. However, due to cost, coordination, and operational priorities, the process was never completed. A draft petition to vacate, which was prepared in 2014, summarized this simply saying, quote, "The road is unimproved and not used by the public. It is not necessary for future use. The traveled road is in another location," end quote. Legalizing the as-traveled road and vacating the unused right-of-way would finally resolve this century-old issue. It would primarily benefit the public who has used this alignment continuously since 1912. I want to assure you this is not just about Pacific Fiber Products or Woodburn Industrial. It's about ensuring continued safe and legal access for all the public users of Vadis Road. Of the options available, the legalization process before you today is the one that best protects the public interest by maintaining the roadway exactly where the public has traveled for over 100 years. And based on that and for these reasons, I would ask your consideration and approval of the proposal before you. Thank you. Very welcome.
Is there any other member in the auditorium wish to provide public comment on this public hearing? Not seeing anyone raise their hand or coming forward. Is there any member online via Zoom that wish to provide public comment on this public hearing? Give you just a moment to utilize raise hand function. Not seeing any hands. Chair Harrington.
Thank you, Clerk Moss. And with that, I'll close this public hearing and call on Commissioner Willie for his questions and comments.
Thank you, Chair. I've driven down this road inadvertently, actually, to try and get westbound on 26 off of Gordon. So that's kind of a circuitous way that you can do that. Is the red dots where I drove, or did I drive over the green dots?
You drove over the red dots, Commissioner.
Okay, because that I was kind of interested as to that business that's out there and how that functions, how much travel every once in a while. I go out Gordon Road, of course, to go to another one of my favorite locations, and I note that sometimes there's a lot of people turning on that road, and so I was just wondering about how much travel there really is on this, and it's probably not an issue at all, but I think we should absolutely do this, so.
Yeah, I think your perceptions are correct. It's low volume facility, and the piece that crosses the railroad tracks is currently gravel right now. You probably noticed that as you drove through there, and so this will give the ability to the county to maintain it properly.
Yeah, and very few people know that they can, if they want to go westbound on 26, that is one of the ways they can get there off of Gordon Road from back out in the country. But anyway, got to know the back roads. Anyway, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the commission? Seeing none, I would like to ask for a motion to approve the resolution and order legalizing Northwest Vadis Road as County Road 3356.
So moved.
And as part of this legalization, to become final upon the filing of the proposed record of survey in the county surveyor's office. We have a motion. Do we also have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Willie. And I want to thank Mr. Vogt, there he is, for coming and testifying. And I'm sorry, I heard you say that we've been in possession of a draft petition since 2014. I'm sorry it's taken so long to get this taken care of, but we are doing so today with that motion and second. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, everyone. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously, 5-0. And we'll see you a little bit later. Mr. Shetler.
Thank you. Could I just make a comment?
Certainly.
Could the individual with the clean voter rolls put that sign down a little bit?
Oh, yes, you're blocking
our policy is you can't be blocking someone behind you from being able to see up here, so thank you.
Thank you for noticing. I looked earlier and didn't see past the sign, so I made a bad assumption. There was no one else back there. Okay, so we have multiple items on today's action agenda. The first one comes to us from Clean Water Services to authorize the scope of revisions to design and construction standards and charge the Clean Water Services Advisory Commission with public engagement activities. Mr. Shanley, are you speaking to this first before Damon? Or
I think it's Damon is fully capable, so I'm going to turn the mic over to him and have him walk through the presentation.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board. Thank you for having me. My name is Damon Reishi. I'm the Planning and Development Services Division Manager with Clean Water Services, and I'm here to talk about this action item today, which is really the kickoff to a limited revision to our design and construction standards to bring alignment with our National Pollutant Discharge Elimination Systems permit. As you're aware, we do have a permit from the state that's a federal permit that covers our discharges from our municipal separate storm sewer system. That's our stormwater runoff. And that permit has requirements that we have standards around development for treating stormwater that runs off of those newly developed and redeveloped areas. The permit was most recently reissued in December of 2022, and it has a number of deadlines for things that we have to do. One of those is updating our standards to deal with stormwater quality requirements. The deadline for that is November 1 of 2026. Those changes kind of fall into two categories. One is to create a prioritization of on-site retention related to our water quality storm, and to update that storm to a numeric methodology. It also has us prioritize green infrastructure before the use of hardscape controls like filter vaults or underground storage, as well as prioritizing green infrastructure before programs like fee in lieu. With both of these, the permit allows us to create a set of criteria for determining when you move through the different solutions. So part of the action item today is to approve the scope of this revision, and really what we're focused on for this revision is limiting to making the changes to our stormwater requirements that are necessary to get alignment with this permit requirement. What that entails is changes to parts of our Chapter 4 in the design and construction standards that deal with runoff treatment and control, as well as any definitions in Chapter 1 that might need to be updated around those changes, and also potential updates to some of the detailed drawings for stormwater structures in Appendix B. This is the timeline. We have just under a year to complete this revision. And as a quick overview of how we see this going, our intent is to have opportunities of several drafts for the public to review and provide comment on as we go through the next year. Following those drafts, informal comment, we would then bring a draft to the board for public hearing and formal comment. Through the process, we would also like to engage our Clean Water Advisory Commission to hold a public forum as another opportunity for the public to hear about what we're proposing and provide feedback and give us an opportunity to take that feedback in and make adjustments. Our public forum with the Clean Water Advisory Commission wouldn't be the only opportunity for the public to engage. We would do public meetings throughout the process. We intend to have a pretty thorough website dedicated to this that will include all the drafts, have an opportunity to learn why it's required, and a place for electronic comments to be made to staff throughout the process. Another piece of what we want to do for the public engagement is reaching out to specific stakeholder groups that we know have had an interest in revisions to the design and construction standards in the past. One of the big stakeholder groups that we would be looking to reach out to is our partner cities and Washington County. They're a little bit unique maybe from other stakeholders, especially the cities that manage the local program for clean water services, because they actually, along with Clean Water Services, implement the design and construction standards. So they would be issuing permits related to these standards. We know that the development and business communities, as well as the environmental community, have traditionally had an interest whenever we make revisions to the design standards. So we would be looking to reach out to those groups in different venues to make sure that they're aware of the proposed changes and have an opportunity to comment. And finally, we've heard interest in the last few years from neighborhood groups around development requirements, and especially development requirements related to the environment and stormwater. So I think there's likely some interest from that community as well, and we would be looking to engage those folks. The requested action for today really has two parts. The first is to authorize the scope and process to revise our design and construction standards. And the second part is to charge the Clean Water Advisory Commission with holding a stakeholder forum and providing input to staff. Happy to take any questions at this point.
Well, I just want to contribute, thank you, Damon, that the Board of Directors for Clean Water Services, that we had slightly in-depth more presentation on this topic at one of our full work session days. Can't remember if it was Friday, November 7th, 6th, 7th, or back in October, but it's been pretty recent. And we had all of our questions and comments addressed at that time and wanted to ensure that we had a really good overview at today's meeting. So thank you, job well done. But I'd like to open the floor up and see if there are any questions or comments from our board members today. Go ahead.
For the reason you just mentioned, Chair, I mean, we had a robust conversation, a lot of questions asked and answered, and I don't have further.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? All right, so do we have a motion to authorize the scope and process to revise the Clean Water Services design and construction standards for the sanitary sewer and surface water management and charge the Clean Water Services Advisory Commission with holding a stakeholder forum and providing input to staff?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, directors. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously, 5-0. Next, we'll move on to another land use and transportation item. This is to approve the commitment of the Major Streets Transportation Improvement Program large project match funds for the Farmington Road Jurisdictional Transfer Advisory Committee application. Welcome to Director Roberts and his subject matter expert, Diami Valentine. Take it away, gentlemen.
Great. Good morning, Commissioners. Again, as you said, Stephen Roberts, Director of Land Use and Transportation, and we're here today on an item that we just wanted to take a few minutes to brief you on. This could have appeared on the consent agenda, but we haven't done this before, and so we just wanted to take a moment to make sure to walk through this with the board and members of the public so that you have an understanding of what we're up to. And with that, I'm going to turn things over to Diami to run through a quick presentation, and then we're happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you. And for the record, Diami Valentine, I'm the Transportation Planning Section Manager. And quick overview of the presentation, just remind you of what the Large Project Match program is, a quick recap of the Farmington Road Concept Plan, and overview of the process of the Jurisdictional Transfer Advisory Committee and next steps. So as a reminder, your board approved the MISTIP, the Major Streets Transportation Improvement Program Large Project Match Fund in June 2024 as a set-aside allocation of $30 million focused on 5 projects that were submitted for specifically this type of a program for seeking competitive funding opportunities as part of the MISTIP 3F allocation. This is unique in that, and it's similar to the set aside for the Opportunity Fund, which is a similar kind of competitive grant opportunity program funding allocation, except that it incorporates your board's approval before any commitment of those dollars, which is why we're here today. The request before you is an $11.1 million commitment of the large project match funds to be earmarked through the end of 2027 legislative session in support of the jurisdictional transfer request to the Jurisdictional Transfer Advisory Committee. Prior action consistent with the program guidance is the Washington County Coordinating Committee, Transportation Advisory Committee took action to recommend approval of a $10 million request. This was based on a request that has since been updated, and the Washington County Coordinating Committee did take action on an updated request of that $11.1 million, which was based on updated information from Oregon Department of Transportation. And just a quick recap of what your board approved via Resolution and Order 2567, acknowledging the Farmington Road Concept Plan, and at which point you also authorized staff to submit an application for jurisdictional transfer of Farmington Road between 198th Avenue and Kinnaman Road. That is depicted here by the red circle. And we are proceeding. I'm going to quick recap of what was included in that, just as a planning level design concept, which includes 3 lanes, 3-lane cross section with multi-use path in both directions to accommodate pedestrians and bicyclists, separated by a planting strip. And based on that design, the planning level cost estimate comes in for the total study area of over $85 million. The subject of the jurisdictional transfer segment is approximately $57 million of total of that estimate, which is in current dollars. So we will likely see that increase over time. And the legislature in 2023, via House Bill 2793, established the Jurisdictional Transfer Advisory Committee to review local agency jurisdictional transfer requests and develop a list of 3 jurisdictional transfer candidates. Those are presented to the Oregon Transportation Commission and the Joint Transportation Committee every year or every 2 years, and providing a recommendation for potential funding through the legislature. This is a table that was included in the packet of materials. It's a direct excerpt from the application materials that we submitted, which reflects the large project match and how it ties together with the rest of the funding package. The $2 million is what ODOT has committed to and reflects the current commitment of ADA ramp improvements in the corridor, which is taken out of the total for a $55 million total project ask and that local match commitment of $11.1 million, which leaves a total request for state funding of $44.4 million. So again, the staff, our request before you today is to approve the $11.1 million commitment of the Major Streets Transportation Improvement Program large project match funds for the Farmington Road Jurisdictional Transfer Advisory Committee application. And the next steps is that we will continue to work through this, and the application deadline to submit that is December 12th, so quickly approaching. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Valentine. Commissioners, do you have any questions on this proposal?
I just want to know if there was any dissent at the WCCC meeting, and if so, who and why?
There was not. I think there was general support. I think there were some questions just because this is the first time that this has come up. But other than that, I think everybody was in support.
Any other questions or comments? I will just close with this whole Farmington Road extent has been underway for study and improvement for decades. This is just a next step in trying to acquire the funding now that concept planning for this section is done. And this is important to get this commitment and to submit the application for the state grant. But it will likely be another very large chunk of time before we see the actual construction project begin and whatnot. But this is how we improve our communities over the course of time, thanks to the due diligence of Washington County staff, not just in LUT, but also in finance, to help realize the community shape in our roadways to meet community needs so that everyone can travel safely and comfortably to their destination. So thank you for your due diligence. And with that, I would ask for a motion to approve the $11.1 million commitment of the Major Streets Transportation Improvement Program large project match funds for the Farmington Road Jurisdictional Transfer Advisory Committee application.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your hand or say aye. Thank you, commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously, 5-0. Next, we'll move on to our third action item, and this is to approve the amended City of Banks Urban Renewal Area Plan. And we'll turn it over to our land use and transportation expert team on this item. Please get settled and introduce yourselves along the way.
We have a whole group today. Good morning, Chair Harrington and members of the board. My name is Erin Wardell. I'm the Assistant Director of the Department of Land Use and Transportation. And with me today for this item are Adrienne Chalet, our Economic Development Manager, Jolynn Becker, the City Manager of the City of Banks, and Elaine Howard with Elaine Howard Consulting, who I think is the state's preeminent urban renewal expert. Can you go to the next slide? So we are here today to provide you with a presentation on the key elements of the Banks Urban Renewal Plan and a progress update. We will then review a proposed expansion and amendment of this plan, which is why our city manager and expert consultant are with us today. The requested board action at the end of this presentation will be to approve the proposed expansion and amendment of the plan. With that, I'll turn it over to the team.
Erin. Good morning, Chair Harrington and Board of Commissioners. For the record, Adrienne Chalet, Economic Development Manager with Land Use and Transportation. And this is an exciting opportunity just to hear from the City of Banks on many of the developments happening in their community. Some key considerations as you listen to the presentation today. The City of Banks and Banks Urban Renewal Agency propose an expansion of the plan area, including properties outside of the city limits, but within the regional UGB and city's UGB, and incorporating a public building project, which is considered a substantial amendment to the plan. And because of that, the agency is required to notify all taxing districts of the amendment. In addition, this is due to the fact that they are proposing a public building project, which includes public artworks in the amendment. So with that, I am excited to turn it over to City Manager Jolynn Becker to share some updates about the City of Banks.
So thank you, Chair and Commissioners. So basically, there's a lot going on. I'm going to try to keep it short because there's a lot like I said, there's a lot of things happening in the city of Banks. First of all, we've had two developments that will bring in about 1,100 new homes within the area. So with that is currently being worked on with all the different planning exercises or applications that we're receiving. We finally finished the MISTIP project with the intersection at Cedar Canyon, Banks Road, and Main Street. It's very enhanced that area. It's very nice, and I would say it's gorgeous, but that's my opinion. But it just added some enhancements and it made it much more with the businesses down there to bring in, I don't know, I'm just going to say and enhance that area. Also, along with the new development that we're doing right now, we also, the school district is also submitting a lot of different applications for their bond, for the money that they're spending to rebuild the high school and some other buildings within their footprint. We also, with the growth, we're also looking at rezoning our Main Street to be more of instead of residential, being more of a mixed use or commercial, downtown commercial zone, so that we can add more businesses onto Main Street in the next couple of years based on what the residents want to do with their homes. And then we also have, with the intersection project, we want to work with the San Mary Trail to enhance that and add some additional parking, because I guess from what I heard today, we get about 40% of all the people that come in and use the Banks Vernonia Trail. Our trailhead gets about 40% of those people that are coming in to use the trail. So we're looking at adding some additional parking, and we're talking with the Salmonberry Foundation on that. And those are pretty much about just a small sample of what the city is working on right now.
Thank you, JoLynn. And Elaine Howard will now share more detail about the amendment, the proposed amendment today. Here's the clicker for you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair and Commissioners, for allowing us to present this to you today. I know most of you understand tax increment financing, so this really isn't for you. It's mostly for the public who might be watching. But in an urban renewal area, at the time that the urban renewal area is established, the assessor establishes a frozen base of assessed value, and that's shown by that lavender area, purple area at the bottom. All taxing jurisdictions will continue receiving their taxes off of properties in the area on that assessed value. Any incremental growth, both from 3% assessed value increases, which happen annually, and any new construction or substantial rehabilitation, the taxes off of that go to the Urban Renewal Agency to provide projects and programs within the area over time, hoping to both improve the economy within the area, improve the atmosphere of the area so that new businesses want to come relocate or locate within the area, and to improve the assessed values within the area so that when the area ends, all of that assessed value will then be redistributed back to all of the different impacted taxing jurisdictions. The project focus for the amendment is the projects will be completed within the existing maximum indebtedness. So there's no proposal to increase the maximum indebtedness. However, there were a number of new people on the agency and city council and banks who had other ideas about things that they wanted to accomplish within the bank's urban renewal area. So we have been working with the city for almost a year to work through what the vision is of the city council and mayor, and to make sure that any way the urban renewal area can help with implementing that vision, we rework the urban renewal plan to add those projects. So those projects would support the downtown core of Banks by supporting arts, cultural, and recreation opportunities for the residents in Banks, so creating that livable community. As the city manager said, there's a lot of residential development happening there to be able to provide that core of the Arts, Cultural, and Recreation District is really important to be able to market all of those new houses that are coming online and to keep them full of people who will enjoy living in Banks. Also providing economic development that would include improvements to the existing businesses, jobs, and retail services for the Banks residents. The proposed projects within the plan and plan amendment are district identity Main Street improvements, so targeted investments in storefronts, public art, pedestrian-friendly enhancements. Again, that public art, when in 2019, when the ORS 457 was amended, public art and public art structures were identified as public buildings, and those public buildings require approval of 3 of the 4 most impacted taxing jurisdictions. Washington County is one of those 4 taxing jurisdictions, so therefore part of the ask to you today is to approve the use of funds, not only approving the plan, but to use some funds for public art installations. The mill site revitalization, when this plan was adopted originally, the city manager met with the Hampton Lumber Company and we talked with them about their future plans, and at that point their future plans were staying in Banks. Unfortunately, that site has, they have terminated their operations there. The assessed value has gone down considerably because all of those buildings are gone, the machinery and equipment is gone. And so that leaves a big hole within the downtown area, and that is within the urban renewal area. So the city needs to look at the potential revitalization of all of that property into uses that are compatible with the city, but also job-producing uses within the urban renewal area. So there are environmental remediation and site preparation needed, incentives for targeted development, and infrastructure improvements. The City Council is very interested in making the area an arts, culture, and recreation area. They are interested in helping to use urban renewal funds to leverage other funds to, in the future, construct a performing arts center, to assist in the Kelly Field School stadium to be renovated, and for investments in a recreation center for the community. They are also looking at transportation improvements, so new development infrastructure, connectivity improvements, and then looking at the Bank Vernonia State Trail, Salmonberry Trail enhancements. Part of that is why we had to add some property to the area, and that property is in unincorporated Washington County, and so that is why we had to come to you for approval of this amendment. We still have within the plan a negotiated agreement from when the plan was adopted for fire station improvements, and the fire chief was involved in all of the negotiations on this, and that commitment to them has remained within the plan. The potential revised boundary, you can see at the north is the boundary addition for the Banks Vernonia Salmonberry Trailhead. We added in property for the Banks High School to be able to do any expenditures on Kelly Field and any potential recreation expenditures for that future recreation center, and then future potential transportation access on that property that is on the lower west-hand side of the freeway. So those crosshatches are properties that are being brought into the area. That is what requires this to be a substantial amendment to the plan, because they're adding properties over 1% of the original boundary of the area. With these changes, they would be at 24.95% of acreage. The limitation, statutory limitation, is 25%. So they have used up their ability to add anything to this urban renewal area, and that is why it's taken us a bit to come to these recommendations because there were lots of proposals of should we put this in or should we put that in, and coming to the final agreement on the changes. You can see that the assessed value limitation is much lower than the 25%. It's at about 15% of the total assessed value of the city. On our financial analysis, the area is not performing to the extent that we had projected originally when we developed the urban renewal plan. Part of that, a huge part of that, is taking out all of that assessed value for the Hampton lumber, which decreases our total assessed value and decreases that amount upon which the city's urban renewal agency will get division of taxes. In addition, when we did the original financial assessment of the area, that single-family residential development on the west side was imminent. It did not happen. It is under construction now. The permitting is sitting at the city. Some of the initial site improvements are ongoing. So we have added that into future development, but it has delayed the amount of tax increment revenues that are coming in because it did not come in the projections that we originally had. When we did the financial analysis, we did add in some assumptions that the Hampton lumber site would be redeveloped in the future, because this plan will go an additional 25 plus years. So we do expect over that time frame that site will get some development. So now the urban renewal area is projected to go through fiscal year in 2058. And again, we didn't increase the maximum indebtedness, so it is those same impacts to all the taxing districts, but just over a longer time period. The maximum indebtedness for this site is $30 million. The capacity in today's dollars is $17,300,000. So when we looked at adding potential projects, we did that knowing that that is the amount of money that they have to spend. Over the next 5 years, they have very limited capacity, about $1.8 million over that 5-year period. They will have more once that residential development comes online. The impacts on the taxing jurisdictions over the time period projected to the end of the plan, so through fiscal year end 2058, would be about $6.7 million to Washington County, $270,000 to Tualatin Soil and Water, $210,000 to the Port of Portland, the Fire District about $3.2 million, City of Banks $5.9 million, and then we have the education districts. We know in urban renewal, those education districts are not directly impacted by urban renewal. They are funded through state school funding formulas, which are backfilled by other resources that the state legislature can access on those state funding formulas. The city has had many meetings that have been open meetings and have been attended by the public. In addition, they conducted an overall survey and received over 100 responses to that survey. And for a city their size, that is a very good response from the community. The agency convened 4 times in open public meetings. There's been no opposition on any of the requested changes, either by the community or so far by any affected taxing districts. The Planning Commission held a hearing and determined that the amendment conforms to the city's comprehensive plan. The city has conducted their first public hearing. Their second public hearing will be December 9th. As part of that, they will have an ordinance. That ordinance will refer to whatever action you take today. So that will be included. If we get the action we're hoping for, they'll be able to pass the ordinance. If we don't get that action, they will not be able to pass that ordinance. We will have to hold the ordinance and resolve any issues. Your requested action is to approve resolution and order approving the amendment to the urban renewal plan. And in that is the public building project approval.
With that, we'll take any questions from your board. Thank you, Elaine.
Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments on this requested action?
Excuse me. I don't have any questions, but I was interested in hearing you say the 100 responses call out. I thought it was pretty impressive, which led me, when I was doing my homework with this presentation, to look up the population of City of Bank. So I think you're absolutely right, and I don't have any questions. I particularly related to this, but to our staff, I did have a process question around do we approve this action item, or do we wait the city council's second public hearing and close that loop and then come? So that was what was going through my mind over the weekend when I was thinking through, like, which comes first, the county, since this is an unincorporated, or should we wait the city, take their action, close that whole process, and then come to us?
Thank you, Commissioner Fye. This is the required action prior to the City Council's decision next week on the 9th. Hence the timing, too, for us to do it today so that we can have the resolution in order filed and approved for their City Council to move forward.
Okay.
They have to have support.
Yes. Correct.
From, yeah.
Potential approval.
And one additional detail on that, it does have to happen this month in order for the taxation to start taking effect next year. And so December is an important timeline.
Go ahead, Commissioner Snyder.
I'm a supporter, as a former mayor, of tax increment financing. I've seen more presentations from you than just about anyone else in Oregon. So I'm a supporter. I appreciate all the work that Banks is trying to do to be innovative and think about the future and redevelopment, and so I'll be supporting it.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I've had several conversations with the mayor as well, Jason, and the mayor of Banks, and you've got a really exciting opportunity in Banks, and it's going to take you a while to roll all of this out, but certainly I'm in agreement with this. TIF financing, it's really important. It's a good base. So, yeah, we look forward to the development of a new Banks, if that's going to be okay. It's going to change. But anyway, thanks for your work on this. And especially thanks for your inclusion of the Salmonberry Trail Foundation and that parking. That'll be very important.
Commissioner Treese, anything?
Just thank you and great work. Good luck.
Thank you. So I'll go last. I'm a little divided as to proposing this specific request. I find that urban renewal can be used very successfully. But I think several of the projects that have been included in this plan are really, I'll use my adjective, pie in the sky, and won't actually be increasing value for the city. I've watched many cities from very small, such as Banks, to large, use urban renewal tax incremental financing very well. And I think the City of Banks City Council has a lot of maturation to do in order to do the work, including their urban renewal agency, to make sure that the due diligence happens and that these projects aren't just beautification in the hope that value will be achieved. And really the thing that concerns me the most is on the slide, I think it was slide 12, on the impacts on taxing districts and the impact to Washington County at $6.7 million. We know that we're going to continue for a few more years where county government expenses exceed the revenues, all at a time where, as board members who joined the commission in 2019 know that we inherited a very decrepit county and have been spending a lot of work, a lot of time and work through our staff to improve that situation and advance from there. So, so the work is really on the City of Banks, and that's the message I want to deliver. I don't need to deliver that message by voting no, but I do think the residents and the businesses need to really make sure that they're following through on the appropriate actions. And 2058 is a long, long time. They need to do the work and try to close down the urban renewal area before that deadline. That is the longest it can commit. And I hope I'll go on the record today for ensuring that future boards of commissions do not approve additional changes to this urban renewal in a way that would only extend that time frame. You've got to be really diligent, do the work, get the work done, and close it down because it's going to be hampering the county further. And I know the City of Banks relies upon contract police services from the Washington County Sheriff, and that will be impacted as well. So, but I'm just going to leave those comments as today and continue to support this request because I know that urban renewal can be a very effective tool and leave the responsibility to the City Council to actually do that work. So, thank you. And with that, I would like to ask for a motion to approve the resolution and order approving the City of Banks amended renewal area plan.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. Next, we are going to come back to items that we moved off of the consent agenda first, and then close with coming back to the action item, or the item on Northwest Dairy Creek. So we had consent agenda item, one agenda item where we'll ask for two different motions, and this is to improve the reimbursements for Clean Water Services Director travel to the WEFTEC conference, which is appropriate for the work that we do as Clean Water Services. So we have the material in the packet, and first I would like to follow the alphabet and ask for a motion and a second to approve the reimbursements with regard to Director Snyder's attendance at the conference earlier this year in late September and October.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Director Snyder, for any comments?
Yeah, I just want to clarify, since not necessarily all of the detailed materials are available without requesting them, they were not put in the packet. I want to make it clear that out of an extreme abundance of caution and in the spirit of transparency, I have taken the step of determining, and there's a lot of reasons for why I needed to do this, but I have determined the approximate value of airline miles I received and credit card benefits and reduced the amount of my request accordingly to make sure that I am complying with the somewhat vague at this time nature of our relationship with Clean Water Services not being an employee, and the fact that we don't receive compensation directly from Clean Water Services or compensation from Clean Water Services, and therefore there are lots of questions about whether certain policies apply to the 5 board members, et cetera. I don't think I needed to do this necessarily, but I am going to do it because I don't want to have an appearance of a problem, nor end up with an ethics investigation in the future over whether or not certain policies were clear enough or not, and whether we are employees or not, and whether certain policies apply to us or not. I'm just making that choice and decision, and the value of that was just over $150. So my reimbursement request is less that amount. The amount you have is correct, but the full amount was above that, just to be clear.
Thank you, Director Snyder, for that clarification. And at this juncture, I would like to ask, I already asked for a motion and a second. So at this juncture, I would like to ask for those who approve this action to please raise your hand or say no. Thank you. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you very much. We have 4 approved, 0 against, and 1 abstention. Then I would like to ask for a motion to approve the reimbursement for Director Travel for Director Willie to the WEF conference, similarly in late September, early October.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I abstain.
Thank you, Director Willie. The motion is approved on a vote of 4 with 0 against and 1 abstention. Next, we're going to come back to the item to legalize a portion of Northwest Dairy Creek Road as County Road 3364. Mr. Shetler, what is the outcome of further clarifying discussions?
Well, thank you, Chair Harrington. Stacy Shetler, County Engineer, Land Use and Transportation. I think the first item of clarification was that, and County Council helped me with this, was that there's no renotice required if you move the action to a date certain. So that's one clarification. I don't believe that's going to be necessary. We were able to speak with Mr. Jones in the hallway, our survey team, and answer his questions related to this action. He had many other questions about and other items, but he stuck around if you want to hear from him, because I don't want to put words into his mouth, but I believe he is satisfied with this action moving forward.
Mr. Jones, would you agree with the statement that you're satisfied with the outcome of that discussion?
Yes, I appreciate their...
Well, now I need you to come up to the mic. I would have just, if you'd voiced yes or thumbs up, I would have taken care of that, but I appreciate that you're here, so go ahead.
No, I have no objections, and I appreciate the time that they took to explain to me the predicament I'm in.
Okay. Thank you very much, and thank you for following up. We do have a dedicated team that endeavors to help people understand the complexity of land use and transportation matters. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you.
And with that, Commissioners, I would like to, we've already had the public hearing, and now I'm asking for the motion to approve the resolution and order legalizing Northwest Dairy Creek Road as County Road 3364, and with the legalization to become final upon the filing of the proposed record of survey in the County Surveyor's Office.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, Commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. Next, we'll move on to our second public comment period of today's meeting. This is an opportunity for members of our community to come and share their comments with the board for up to 5 minutes an individual, no more than 30 minutes total. Clerk Moss, who do we have today?
First, we have Charlie Henderson, followed by Mary Kalaki-Opoulos.
Good morning. Go ahead, Mr. Henderson.
Is this one?
They're all live.
Oh,
They're all
doesn't matter?
live.
Okay, perfect. Okay, well, good morning, Commissioners. Chair, for the record, my name is Charlie Henderson, and I'm here this morning to once again call upon the board to review the draft resolution in front of you, sign it, and put it out to the public. Previously, during testimony, the chair expressed that the county does not have any foreign policy in its portfolio. Therefore, it will not be putting out a statement on Israel's countless war crimes, ethnic cleansing, and genocide. This was underwhelming So I did some digging to see if that was true, that Washington County does not speak on anything related to foreign affairs. And what I found, as you can see, is that actually the Washington County Board of Commissioners put out a statement of support about 3.5 years ago with regard to Russia's war on Ukraine. Proclamation and pledge in support of Ukraine. This was dated March 15, 2022, whereas on February 24, 2022, Russian President Vladimir Putin launched a premeditated, unprovoked war that has brought about catastrophic loss of life and human suffering to the people of Ukraine, and whereas since this invasion, hundreds of civilians, including innocent children, have been killed by Russian forces in brutal attacks on Ukrainian neighborhoods and other non-military targets, and millions have been forced to flee their homes, creating panic and chaotic conditions in nearby neighboring countries, and whereas these deliberate acts of terror by the Russian military against the Ukrainian people reverberate across the globe, causing great anguish for the entire human race, including the good and decent people of Russia. And whereas the people of Ukraine have friends and loved ones around the world who are deeply affected by this invasion, including many who live and work within the state of Oregon, the Portland metropolitan area, and right here in Washington County. And whereas numerous leaders of the free world, including the President of the United States, humanitarian and non-governmental organizations, major U.S. corporations and worldwide companies, and some state and local governments have joined together in response to impose economic sanctions against the Russian government and companies headquartered in Russia. And whereas the Washington County Board of Commissioners deplore and condemn these atrocities, as well as the architect of this war, President Putin, and whereas in solidarity with Ukraine, we pledge to immediately examine Washington County business practices and investments of public funds and cease any and all purchases knowingly made from any company in Russia, effectively boycotting all products, supplies, and services provided by companies headquartered in Russia. Nothing in this resolution is intended to harm Washington County businesses that sell Russian products. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Washington County Board of Commissioners calls upon our partners in local government, as well as those in business, education, healthcare, and other sectors of our local economy, to join us in this pledge in support of the people of Ukraine, unless and until Russian troops cease hostilities in Ukrainian soil, and the Russian government recognizes the sovereignty of the nation of Ukraine. Signed, Catherine Harrington, Washington County Board Chair. Now, if I had more than 5 minutes, this is the point where I would be an unrelenting smartass, but because time is short and what we're talking about is so dire, I'm just going to cut to the chase. Washington County not only can speak on foreign affairs, but you all have proof that it has done so. Washington County prides itself on being the most diverse county in the state of Oregon, with many of our residents being brown, Muslim, and even Palestinian. Israel is guilty of genocide, continues to ethnically cleanse Palestinians from their land, has violated every ceasefire resolution put forth literally hundreds of times, and has murdered hundreds of thousands of innocent men, women, children, and babies. Since October 2023, the United States has provided not only around 60% of the weapons that have been used to carry out this genocide, but around 30 to 40 billion in additional aid. At the same time that we as taxpayers are being asked by you as elected officials to pay more in taxes, despite the fact that what we really need is for genocide-supporting cowards like Wyden, Bonamici, Bynum, Bentz, Hoyle, Dexter, and Salinas to actually represent the majority of their constituents as opposed to AIPAC and AIPAC-affiliated trash, and put that money into our communities. When I was in the military, one of these sayings that was repeated ad nauseum was that perception is reality. So if the perception is that this board is willing to speak out when white Christian Ukrainians are being bombed and ethnically cleansed off their lands, but say nothing and hide behind vague policies when it's brown Muslim Palestinians, then the reality is that Washington County is just as backwards and racist as some of the worst parts of our country, and actually only values diversity when it can throw something on a yard sign. So in closing, you have a precedent in front of you that gives you permission to speak on the ongoing genocide. You have a draft resolution in front of you, so you don't have to spend time and resources thinking about what the message should be. You have the support of the majority of your constituents, 95% of the world, and every major humanitarian rights group. Please review the resolution, ensure it maintains the word genocide and supports a full arms embargo. Sign it, put it out, and we'll take it from there. I thank you all for your assistance on this, and we'll be following up in the near future for as long as it takes.
Thank you, Mr. Henderson. Go ahead, Mary.
Good morning, Chair Harrington and Commissioners. I'm Mary Halkiopoulos, a 24-year resident of Washington County. In the spring of 2025, the U.S. Department of Justice began requesting copies of unredacted voter rolls from the states to ensure adherence to, 1, the National Voter Registration Act, which requires regular maintenance of voter rolls to remove ineligible voters, and 2, the Help America Vote Act, which mandates the collection of certain identifying information during voter registration. In July 2025, the DOJ requested copies of Oregon's unredacted voter roll list through a letter sent to Secretary of State Tobias Reed. Mr. Reed responded to the DOJ's request by telling federal lawyers that the government, like, quote, any person, end quote, could fill out an online request form, pay $500, and get an electronic copy of the redacted public records. That data would not include any Oregonian's full date of birth, driver's license number, or partial Social Security number. The implication was that this data may be used to help determine a person's eligibility to vote, which is the federal government's right and duty to determine. As reported to this board in October, the DOJ responded to Mr. Reed by filing a lawsuit against Oregon and the Secretary of State on September 16th for noncompliance of federal law. The lawsuit alleges that Oregon and Secretary Reed violated the National Voter Registration Act, the Help America Vote Act, and the Civil Rights Act of 1960 by refusing to produce the required information. Similar suits were filed against other non-compliant states. Now, per a November 18th article published in the Oregonian, 10 secretaries of state, including Oregon's, sent a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi and Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem asking for information regarding the DOJ's use of the voter information. The Secretaries of State requested a response by December 1st to a list of questions, including whether the Justice Department had, quote, shared or does intend to share information from voter files with DHS or any other federal agency, end quote. They also asked whether Homeland Security had received voter information from any other sources besides the Justice Department. The 10 states include Arizona, California, Colorado, Maine, Minnesota, Nevada, New Mexico, Oregon, Vermont, and Washington. Of these states, 3 have provided the DOJ with partial redacted voter roll data, while the other 7, including Oregon, have not provided the DOJ with any data at all. As you may recall, during a September press conference, Mr. Reed claimed that Oregon was withholding this information due to, quote, privacy concerns, end quote. However, 9 of the 10 states have been and are currently providing all unredacted voter roll data to the Electronic Registration Information Center, the private nonprofit organization originally funded by the Soros Open Society Foundation and Pew Research Center. The only one of the 10 states not a member of ERIC is California, which has its own long history of dirty voter rolls. In 2019, California had to remove approximately 1.5 million inactive voter registrations from their rolls as the result of a Judicial Watch lawsuit. Realistically, the U.S. government already has access to every single person's detailed information. The DOJ's request for registration data would allow the federal government to audit the state's adherence to federal law with respect to voter roll management and compliance with voter eligibility. As Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon stated, quote, states simply cannot pick and choose which federal laws they will comply with, including our voting laws, which ensure that all American citizens have equal access to the ballot in federal elections, end quote. So to protect the civil rights of all Washington County citizens, federal law must be adhered to, even if it means localizing our elections and breaking from a lawless state government. This is not a matter of partisanship, but of citizenship. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hokiopoulos. Clerk Moss, do we have anyone else?
The next 2 we have is Roger Law and Bob Terry.
Go ahead, Mr. Law.
Good morning, Chair Harrington and Commissioners. My name is Roger W. Law. I've been a resident of Washington County for 43 years. In my testimony on November 4th, I brought to your attention that the Sherwood City Council voted unanimously to call for a special election in January 2026 with respect to land use, confirming and reinforcing Sherwood's home rule authority under the Oregon Constitution. I shared with you an article written by Tim Roaster, Mayor of Sherwood, and published October 29th, which included these key points. Bullet point 1, Sherwood residents must decide on vital amendments to this city charter that reaffirm Sherwood's right to self-governance. Bullet point 2, laws passed in Salem continue to chip away at local control. Bullet point 3, delaying passing these amendments until the next regular election could mean losing more home rule authority, the very principle that allows local decision-making. Next bullet point, decisions should be made with input from Sherwood residents rather than mandated by the state. And the last bullet point, Sherwood voters must decide whether to embed these values into the city charter, locking in the right to self-governance and ensuring that the future councils and legislatures can't take it away. The special election is January 13th, 2026, and ballots have been already sent to the military and overseas voters. 2 measures appear on the ballot. Measure number 347, amend charter enshrined citizen involvement in land use. From the summary, a yes vote will amend the city charter committing Sherwood to citizen involvement in land use decisions consistent with state land use goal 1. It directs the city council to establish ordinances ensuring transparency and meaningful public participation throughout the land use process, including notice, hearings, and appeals. These procedures, rooted in the city's home rule authority, cannot be preempted by state laws that permit public engagement. Measure number 34-348 amends charter. City establishes city authority over annexation decisions. From the summary, a yes vote will amend the city charter to make 2 changes to Section 3. This amendment grants the city exclusive authority to review, approve, or deny annexation requests subject to procedures and standards adopted by the Sherwood City Council through ordinance. These procedures cannot be preempted by state laws that alter or constrain the city's annexation authority. The amendment ensures local control over annexation decisions and confirms home rule authority. From the explanatory statement, the City Council will set rules for approving or denying annexation requests, and these rules cannot be overruled by state laws that try to limit or change cities' authorities. This measure ensures Sherwood keeps local control over its growth and boundaries. It also reinforces Sherwood's home rule authority under the Oregon Constitution. As the city of Sherwood seeks to exercise its home rule authority with respect to land use, we believe under Oregon Constitution and our county charter that Washington County has the authority to exercise local control over its elections rather than ceding them to the state. When we ask this board to restore local control to our Washington County elections. Thank you for listening to the Spirit of Truth speak through me.
Thank you, Mr. Law. And for the public's benefit, the ballots will drop for all the general registrants in the city of Sherwood on December 24th. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Terry.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Catherine. Chair Harrington. Excuse me. I'm Bob Terry, Farmer County Commissioner, a member of our community for over 30 years. I've been active and working for our community ever since the day I arrived. You have heard this morning from 2 of our fellow citizens working diligent every week on our elections integrity for our county. We have now been presenting this information in quite detail, being very careful to make certain that the detail is explicit and exact format as Discovery has made it quite legal and accurate. We have, excuse me, we have yet to have anyone from the county dispute any part of it or tell us where we are incorrect. We have several occasions where there has been denial with no proof of evidence suggesting where the denial was accurate and anyone capable for how to follow up. This morning, citizen, Ms. Chocolopoulos, presented to you another very serious situation and has had serious consequences to the integrity of our county, state, and surrounding communities. True, we are focused primarily on our county and our local citizens. We are being cheated of the integrity and honesty of our elections, which is the very basis and founding of our country. We hope you will take this information more serious than what we have been showing in the past. This information of the last election is also being followed up and looked at. Following Mrs. Chocolopoulos, we heard from Mr. Rogers Law. He spoke to you regarding home rule, and which has brought up before this community on a number of occasions. Unfortunately, you seem to have completely ignored that home rule exists and applies to this county, not only to our state constitution, but to our county charter, although I may not agree personally with everything in the city of Sherwood and the charter of their city as the same applies to this county, though it seems to have continued to be ignored. It will eventually come to surface, and with 7 other counties, home rule, in fact, option to honesty or elections is control of our county versus the state. Home rule is very important as to how, as the community governs and manages our county, and effective again, which is the very basis for our entire, have learned many years ago, our county foundation. I will not labor you and bore you with the results of farming out our country to something you should know and have learned many years ago. However, you do have the opportunity, this very important part of our country and society, to take control of our results and being capable of reporting the same even as the law requires. We encourage you to once again take both of these seriously this morning, presented to you very seriously, as it will prevail over time and more shortly than what you believe. Not only could it have an effect on county, but it ultimately could also have an effect on, most likely would, on Metro. And that tier of government, the fourth tier of government, as the only state in this union that has such a means and experience of way of managing communities, and was never, ever intended to be developed into what it was intended. Even in the measure back in the mid-90s where we did the new charter, was this not intended. Perhaps at another time I will give you the history of it I was involved with, very seriously of it, with the former chair, Bonnie Hayes. And I would imagine our chair understands Metro, I would hope so, but there's over $2 billion that is spent in Metro every year. Where does it go, and where do we see from it? You know, it was intended mainly for the zoo and that type of thing. Several things more down in the Metro Portland area than it is out here, but we certainly benefit from that. But I encourage you to not to get tied up on Metro, but I do encourage you to listen to what we're trying to tell you on home rule and on our election integrity. It's very important. And I'm sorry, Chair Harrington, you don't take this seriously, but I really wish you would. Thank you very much, and have a good morning.
Thank you, Mr. Terry. Clerk Moss, do we have anyone else?
There was no one else in the room. We have one online, Mr. Jim Long. Mr. Long, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
We can. Please go ahead for up to 5 minutes.
Thank you. Good afternoon, commissioners. Good things take time. It's been multiple decades since the R&O regarding citizen participation organizations and citizen involvement was last approved. The public only recently, 4 days ago, has received a packet of proposed options for the modernization of the program. So I suggest and request that before the commission considers the updated resolution and order, a public hearing agenda item on the resolution and order be held 2 weeks from today on the 16th. 4 decades ago, the community participation order was approved, and people can participate in organic fashion. The CPO should not become appointed participation organizations similar to the County Planning Commission. That's one unique thing that Washington County has had. Regarding appeals, the oversight ability of CPOs has shown itself in the past couple of years, and its members to freely appeal land use decisions within their neighborhood CPO boundaries. It's important. It should not be depend on being a type 1, type 2, type 3, or 4 development application process. The many quality of life issues the county deals with have been embraced by CPOs, continue to discuss them, during and since the transition from having an educational administrator of the CPO program, Oregon State University, versus the county. And the county has many conflicts of interest in doing so. Regarding city, state, and federal issues, these have always been discussed at CPO meetings. Indeed, mostly we focus on land use issues within our CPO, but we also talk about other issues, and that should continue. That's part of citizen participation, what people want to talk about. Over the years, different mayors of Tigard have allowed 5 minutes of CPO testimony beyond the usual 2 minutes of testimony for individuals. So CPOs are given a higher quality at the city level. Not all cities, but cities I've worked with have done that. Most of the volunteers on the CPO 4M steering committee live in the city of Tigard. If the focus of the CPO program is only on unincorporated county land, there may be less attendance. So instead of enhancing citizen participation, you may be cutting back on it. There are many interactions between cities and the county, including libraries, roads, annexations from the county to the city and UGB boundaries. For example, a few years ago at the beginning of the pandemic, over 100 CPO4M members tried to participate in a City of Tigard public hearing by the Planning Commission. Unfortunately, none of them got to testify, but the Planning Commission did continue to go on with its MS Teams virtual meeting session. Other things, just last month, over 40 CPO4M members attended a neighborhood meeting last month regarding a memory care facility. And when controversy happens, people turn out. But also on the other side, the sheriff's office said that there were over 1,000 people attending the Metzger Centennial back 14 years ago. So there are inherent conflicts of interest with Washington County administering the CPO program that it did not exist when OSU administered it. One, for example, I have a wetlands proposal to restore wetlands, and unfortunately, the archives from OSU were destroyed, so we can't get to them. In the next 6 months, we have a new committee, the new CCI Land Use and SNR subcommittee will be doing an evaluation of how well the program has been functioning. This will mostly focus on Goal 1, but we'll also be looking at Goal 5. As I said, good things take time. There is confusion currently, and clarification is needed on a county policy put forth in July of last year, 2024. Testimony was submitted that month to the County Administrative Office to, quote, receive, recognize, and review, end quote, significant natural resource advisory committee recommendations to the Planning Commission. But unfortunately, a response has not yet, over 15 months later, been received. So again, I ask for a continuation of the discussion on the future structure of the CPO, citizen participation and community involvement via a public hearing. Thank you for your consideration.
So, Madam Chair, we did have 5 more minutes for one more person, and I've been requested Ms. Eilhofer for that last 5 minutes.
We only have time for one more.
Yes, and this is the last one.
Welcome, Ms. Hoffler. You have 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you, Chair, and all of you today for listening to us. I am Ayla Hoffler. I live in Banks, resident of Western Washington County for 50 years. And I'm here today to support Mr. Long's well-executed concerns about CPO's future. I agree with everything he had to say. I am on the committee for SNR and looking at Goal 5 issues more expansively for CPO, not just citizen participation. And I do want to emphasize the word citizen. It's still a critical part of our program. Anybody in the world is invited to our CPOs at any time, no matter where they come from. But when it comes to voting on land use determinations for this county's future, citizens only should be involved in that. This is a part of election integrity and who we will be in the future. I definitely am offended by the rush to make these decisions all of a sudden in your work sessions when we've given a 4-day notice of having to meet only 3 days with ICA to determine our thoughts and opinions, even though we've been expressing this for over a year and asking for an in-person meeting with all CPO people, live and in color, to look at maps, determine boundaries, decide what we want to be about, and work as a group together. We have an amazing group of people that are the underpinnings of CPOs. You just don't know they're there because, quite frankly, the hands have been tied pretty much by all the public meeting bureaucracy of the county being enforced on the CPO meetings now. We are a grassroots organization that started a long time ago. I was the first CPO person for 8 out in Mountaindale in 1980s. So, for you to start telling us how we have to modernize, that word is really toxic. We don't need to modernize. We need to look at livability, have common sense growth. Nobody wants to say no to urban development, but you don't include any rural voices. You don't want to hear from anybody that lives on EFC or EFU land. All your focus is urban economic development, and you have thrown away the economic development of the rural areas. You've destroyed our logging. You're taking away our farming. There's nothing left. There's no base for school taxation. And CPOs need to look at that livability. And that's why our grassroots organization has to come from our people. We vote our own people that lead our CPOs. We do not need you to divide us and start trying to appoint people to CCI meeting and saying they belong to planning, which is also appointed. That whole process of appointing takes away the rights of people. 5 people sitting as commissioners do not decide the voice of this county. Not well enough. You have to have CPOs starting at the grass level to inform you. We're not against you, but you're not hearing us. And you want to control us. Every word we say, you're changing our title to access and opportunity. We are about trying to live here and have our families live here and have our kids be able to stay employed and live on the farms and the forest land that their parents have created as legacy and heritage locations. And you have done nothing to look at our rural reserves as a place for affordable, available housing. 10 acres, you can't live on it, A farmer who needs help with a family, we've tried to pass bills in Salem, and it keeps getting denied by the same mental thinking of nobody else needs to live in the rural area. Well, get over it. We do not want to live stacked 8 families on an acre. That's not called livability to many people in Washington County. You need to hear the rural voice. You need to let us have our CPOs back to reflect that to you. And let us start having some say about how CPOs are run, not having the narrative dictated down to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Huffler. And that's it for today for our second public comment period. Next, moving on to board announcements. This Thursday, we have a board roundtable meeting starting at 9. Next Tuesday, December 9th, we will have an afternoon work session starting at 1 p.m. and then a board meeting in the evening starting at 6:30 p.m. The following Tuesday, December 16th, our work session will start at 9. We'll pause that and go to our board meeting at 10 a.m. and then reconvene in work session subsequent to that. On Thursday, December 18th, we're having a special meeting for executive sessions with regard to 2 executive performance evaluations. On Tuesday, December 23rd, we will not be holding any board meetings. Similarly, for the following Tuesday, December 30th. We hope everyone has an enjoyable 2-week holiday season. Then we're into the month of January. Our first meeting of the new year will be on Tuesday, January 6th. We'll have a work session that starts at 9. We'll pause that, and then like today, we'll go to the Housing Authority Board of Directors meeting at 10 a.m., followed by the board business meeting, and then we'll reconvene in work session after that. Tuesday, January 8th, we'll have the County Commission Roundtable at 9 a.m. I believe we also have some Clean Water Services Board of Directors work session items for that day as well. Then on Tuesday, January 13th, is just work session day starting at 9 a.m. And that's it thus far for January. I know we will have other meetings on other Tuesday days. Are there any other board announcements for today? Seeing none, we are now at 12:40. I would suggest, given the extent of our work session agenda for this afternoon, that we take a half-hour, 30-minute lunch and reconvene in work session at 1:10 in the afternoon. The board okay with that? Okay, terrific. Next, do we have a motion to adjourn this board meeting for today, December 2nd, 2025?
I move for adjournment.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, everyone. This meeting is hereby adjourned.